Tom Hardy shouldered through the warped oak door of the Old King's Arms, just as Camden's evening drizzle thickened into a proper London downpour, the sudden hiss of rain swallowing motorcycle engines and street vendors' chatter outside. A loose draft followed him in, tugging at beer mats and fluttering sheet music on the upright piano in the corner. The pub, squat and venerable, looked exactly the way an English public house ought to look. Soot-smudged beams, a low ceiling browned by generations of cigarette smoke, and bottle-green wainscoting that still gleamed where elbows had polished it smooth. Tom inhaled the comforting mix of hops, coal fire, and frying chips, then exhaled the clamor of an exhausting filming day that had run 3 hours late and 3 reshoots deep. He tugged the beanie lower over his ears, curls damp, temples sweaty, and made for the bar with the steady gait of a man intent on a single cold pint and absolutely no selfies. He was halfway through his first swallow of a local pale ale, copper bright, foam clinging to the glass, when the door opened again and a gust ushered in a woman whose presence reordered the pub's air the way a sudden key change turns a familiar song electric. She shook rain from a half-shorn bob of midnight hair, unbuttoned a charcoal pea coat, and scanned the room with the sharp, restless focus of a foreign correspondent dropped into breaking news. Her eyes, dark hazel with a ring of gold around the iris, slid over Tom without recognition and landed on a vacant stool 2 spaces down. She signaled the bartender in accented English. "1 Guinness, draft, please," slowly. The vowels curled Spanish, the grammar clipped London. Tom studied her sidelong, noting the calluses on her fingers, pen calluses, not phone scroll calluses, and the faint ink stain ghosting the edge of her thumb. Journalist, he thought, or artist. Either way, she looked like trouble, but the interesting kind. Things will get more interesting towards the end of the story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for the rest. They exchanged polite nods. She tried not to shiver while the stout settled. Tom tried not to stare while the hush of the pub realigned around her arrival. Regulars lowered their voices, football pundits on the TV grew distant, and 2 students near the fireplace began Googling something on their phones with furtive swipes. The reporter's phone lit up, and headlines flashed across the screen. Snap election called. Border bill advances. Culture war erupts after PM's speech. She sighed, thumbed the screen dark, and raised her glass to Tom in wordless truce. He clinked back. Moments later, the pub's jukebox crackled alive with Bowie's Modern Love, guitar riff darting between marsh-brown rafters. Tom tapped the bar in time, shoulders loosening. The woman's foot began to keep rhythm, too. They smiled at the coincidence, dominoed forward by Bowie's contagious optimism. When the track ended, Tom spoke first, low enough that strangers overheard only consonants. "Long shift?" She replied without turning. "Long year." Her name, she said when prompted, was Ana Valdés, a Madrid-born, London-based journalist, freelancing for European broadcasters. She'd spent the day chasing soundbites outside Parliament, absorbing both drizzle and diatribe. Tom introduced himself only as Tom from Hammersmith, a half-truth that earned an appreciative grin. They traded daylight stories. He described being costumed in 1940s pilot gear for yet another dogfight shot, sweltering beneath studio lamps. She recounted a morning press scrum where one MP called another a beige colonizer on live TV. By the time their second round arrived, his porter, her IPA, they'd covered gentrification, tube closures, Catalan independence, and whether pub crisps counted as dinner. Embers of camaraderie glowed. Then the conversation's gravity shifted. The overhead TVs switched to a panel show dissecting immigration reform. A pundit sneered about economic queue jumpers, and Anna flinched as if struck. She set her glass down with surgical care and asked Tom, "Do you know how many refugees Europe has actually taken compared to its promises?" The challenge hung in the air like a gauntlet. Tom, who believed he read widely, quoted numbers that turned out to be 6 months stale. Anna corrected him with current UNHCR data, voice steady but sparks in her eyes. Tom countered with job market strain. Anna retorted with demographic decline. Their debate gained altitude fast, each exchange sharper than the last. The nearest tables went silent, a hush unnoticed by the duelists but obvious to everyone else. A rugby-shirted regular nudged his mate, whispering, "Is that, you know, Bane?" His mate grunted, eyes glued to the unfolding repartee. The barback paused mid-polish of a tumbler. Even the tap faucets seemed to drip more quietly, as though the plumbing itself leaned closer. Tom could feel the room tilting toward spectacle, but refused to resort to soundbite rhetoric. His voice stayed measured, his gestures economical, yet his arguments emerged passionate, shaped by childhood memories of neighbors from Kosovo and Sierra Leone, by friendships forged on sets, where first-generation crew members outnumbered native Londoners. Ana volleyed back with field reports from Lesbos, with personal family history, an abuelo who'd fled Franco's Spain and found asylum in Manchester. She spoke of border patrols weaponizing fear and of local councils saved from economic collapse by industrious newcomers. Beneath every statistic she provided beat a human heart, and she offered each story with devastating clarity. 30 minutes in, the atmosphere had heated from pleasant buzz to rolling boil. The bartender, ginger beard, boxy shoulders, cleared his throat like a referee ready to separate boxers. But Tom raised a calming palm, promising civility. Ana mirrored the gesture. They pivoted to meta questions. Could any nation sustain open borders indefinitely? Did cultural assimilation demand compromise from both host and guest? Could state sovereignty coexist with moral obligation? Their voices remained low, but the intensity was nuclear. Finally, a throat-clearing coughed from 2 stools over. A thick-set pensioner in a flat cap muttered, "Can we talk footy, not flaming politics?" His elbow clipped Ana's Guinness, sloshing dark foam onto her phone. She spun, cheeks flushed. From anger or stout, no one could tell, and fired a riposte in rapid Spanish. The pensioner bristled. "Speak English, love. You're in our country." Tom's muscles coiled. Instinct propelled him off the stool, sliding between them like a door being slammed. In one hand, he caught Ana's toppled glass to keep it from shattering. With the other, he braced the old man's shoulder and apologized for the spill. Around them, patrons half rose, senses pricked by the adrenaline of potential violence. Amid clinks and hushed profanity, the bartender barked, "Oi, enough." Tom turned, voice steady but resonant as a drum. "We can argue ideas all night without taking it to fists." His East End timbre carried authority. The pensioner's glare softened into second thoughts. Ana, chest heaving, realized she still held her phone like a weapon. She exhaled, centered herself, and translated her Spanish remark for the room. "I said I respect this pub and the people in it, and I'm sorry about the mess." She ordered the man a fresh Guinness with her next breath. The tension eased a notch, shoulders lowered. 2 women at a window table applauded. The moment teetered, then righted itself. Tom addressed the crowd. "Buy back round on us if everyone's willing to keep it friendly." Laughter scattered. The bartender nodded with reluctant admiration. Bar glasses were raised, and the jukebox operator, spying a peace opportunity, punched in the Clash's London calling. The communal volume reclaimed the room. But the night wasn't finished testing them. Now that the spark of confrontation had dimmed, they faced a more delicate challenge, salvaging respect while neither surrendering convictions. Tom suggested a rule. Each would argue the other's viewpoint for 5 minutes, steelman style, demonstrating they'd listened. Ana agreed. She unfolded a napkin, clicked a pen, and jotted bullet points summarizing Tom's case. Uncontrolled migration threatens social services, fosters wage depression, can fracture national identity. Tom, meanwhile, enumerated hers. Human rights transcend borders. Economic vitality often rides migrant labor. Britain's moral debt stems from colonial extraction. Then they swapped notes and argued eloquently for positions opposite their own. The exercise bewitched the pub. Strangers exchanged looks of astonishment, the Hollywood star and the fiery reporter articulating each other's logic better than some politicians articulate their own. By the time they concluded, mutual respect had grown so tangible it felt like a sparring ring's handshake after the final bell. The pensioner toasted them for best show since '79, and a group at the billiards table offered them free shots. They declined the shots, but Tom ordered sausage rolls for everyone still watching the spectacle, apology snacks, he called them. From there, the conversation pivoted, still political, but now tempered. They dissected the media's addiction to outrage algorithms, the way clickbait miscasts nuance as betrayal. Tom admitted that some of his blockbuster roles trafficked in simplistic hero-villain dichotomies, but he argued, art still plants empathy seeds. Ana countered that journalism, when done right, adds the data water those seeds need to grow. Their synergy clicked like story beats in a well-paced screenplay. Tom's anecdotes of on-set camaraderie with Syrian boom operators dovetailed with Ana's profile of Afghan women coding in exile. Each example broadened the other's map of the world, charting new coordinates where empathy thrived. Hours melted, beers turned to burnt sugar ciders to black coffees. The pub's regulars dwindled until only a half dozen diehards lingered, perched like barnacles near the bar. Outside, the rain eased to mist. Tom glanced at his watch. 12:48 a.m. Call time loomed 8 hours away, yet he felt oddly energized, shot through with the rare electricity generated when two determined minds clash without corrosion. Ana stretched, shoulders shrugging away the evening's tension. She admitted she'd arrived, seeking a quiet pint before drafting a harsh opinion piece on Britain's new border bill. Now she wanted to write about the night instead, about a pub where ideological blades clanged yet no blood spilled. Tom chuckled. Include the bit where you nearly glassed a pensioner with Guinness. She swatted his arm, laughing. A comfortable silence followed. Rain's lullaby, distant siren, barstool creak. Tom scribbled his number on a Camden brewery coaster, sliding it across. If you ever need a quote from a bloke who shouts for a living. Ana pulled a fountain pen from her satchel and wrote hers on the napkin, still bearing his bullet points, then smirked. If you ever need a fact checker for your scripts. They rose together, thanked the bartender, and slipped into the humid night. The pub door thunked shut behind them, trapping hearth warmth and Bowie echoes inside. Puddles glimmered under street lamps. Neon signs smeared watercolor streaks across wet asphalt. Tom's driver idled at the curb. Anna's night bus lurked in the distance. They hesitated beneath the awning, raindrops ticking like play-out credits on the gutter. Tom spoke first. There's an election night viewing at my mate's warehouse next month. Massive projector, free pizza, surly dogs. Want to argue projections in real time? Ana considered, then nodded. Only if you promise not to sulk when my exit poll analysis destroys your optimism. Deal, he grinned. Wind whipped a lock of her hair across her face. He tucked it gently behind her ear, then stepped back, wary of presumption. She kissed his cheek, quick, warm, surprising them both, then jogged toward the bus stop, coat flapping like a swallow's wings. Tom watched until the bus pulled away, taillights blinking farewell. He climbed into the car. As they drove off, he texted his 5 a.m. trainer. Running late tomorrow, pub debate turned into diplomacy summit. Don't kill me. Behind them, the Old King's Arms settled into after-hours hush, beer lines flushed, chairs inverted on tables. Yet the night's story germinated in digital soil. Clips of the near altercation hit Twitter by dawn, framed by captions praising Tom Hardy schooling racists with logic, and mysterious reporter forces Hollywood actor to cite sources. But the viral edits missed the heart of the tale, the transformation from adversaries to co-authors of empathy, witnessed by a pub full of strangers whose pints tasted better for it. Weeks later, Ana's column, titled Arguing Past Midnight, A Case for Pubs and Persuasion, ran in several European papers. She described how disagreement, served alongside ale and Bowie, could sharpen critical thought without spilling blood. She praised an unnamed actor who listened as fiercely as he spoke, and an elderly heckler who accepted a peace pint instead of doubling down on resentment. Her editor's note said reader mail broke record counts. Many wrote that the piece persuaded them to try listening before tweeting. Tom, for his part, revived the story on a talk show couch while promoting his new series. He replaced real names with coy aliases, a Spanish firecracker, and Old Jim in the flat cap, but his moral landed unchanged. The world's messy enough. Listen hard, argue fair, and buy the next round. Social media melted into hard-eye emojis. The Old King's Arms reported a 30% spike in Wednesday footfall. On election night, Anna arrived at the warehouse with 2 pizzas balancing atop her laptop bag. Tom introduced her to his circle: grips, stunt drivers, theater kids, and a choreographer who'd fled Kabul at 16. They debated exit polls until dawn, dogs snoring at their feet, pizza crusts drying on empty Guinness cans. When the final seat tally flashed, no one won the argument outright, but everyone felt heard. At sunrise, Tom and Anna walked the canal path toward Borough Market, hands brushing but not yet clasping. Their dialogue meandered from coalition math to childhood pranks to whether love was a negotiation or surrender. They concluded, laughing, that love, like good politics, required both. Later, Tom slipped back into set life. Anna boarded flights to refugee camps and climate summits. They texted news links, argued emoji-heavy threads, and convened at pubs from Dublin to Dubrovnik whenever schedules overlapped. Each reunion began with a pint and a pointed question, followed by hours of passionate debate, cautious listening, and the ritual exchange of stories that reforged their bond. Years on, when an interviewer asked Tom the secret to his acclaimed portrayal of a divisive politician in a new biopic, he credited a certain Spanish journalist who teaches me to attack my own arguments before I attack someone else's. And when Anna accepted a Press Freedom Award in Brussels, she recalled a rainy London night when a pub taught me courage sounds like 2 adversaries daring to finish each other's sentences. The old King's Arms still stands, new coat of paint, same crooked beams. Locals point out a brass plaque near the window. On this spot, 2 strangers proved that words can bruise and heal and bruise again, yet leave no scars if poured over with good ale and better faith. Sometimes travelers photograph it, searching for the celebrities rumored to haunt the place. But the bartender, ginger beard gone gray, tells them the real stars were the ideas that clashed, cooled, and finally coalesced into laughter at last orders. And if you step inside on a Wednesday after rain, you might still catch echoes of that first debate. The low murmur of conviction meeting curiosity, the creak of stools as a crowd leans in, and the soft clash of pint glasses, sealing yet another uneasy, necessary truce in the ever-unfinished story of how strangers become allies over a shared, contested world.